A lot of you are not exhausted because of your workload. You're exhausted because you're honoring agreements you never consciously made. You're overgiving, overextending, overexplaining. And somewhere along the way, you become responsible for keeping the relationship intact at the expense of yourself. Today, we're flipping that script.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments, the best growth mindset podcast, recognized by Million Podcasts and ranked as a top mindset podcast by FeedSpot. We're proud to be in the top 1% on Listen Notes. Join Dr. Alisa Whyte as we explore powerful insights and strategies to elevate your mindset. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to Mindset Master Moments, the podcast where we disrupt outdated thinking, reclaim personal agency, and activate the mindset required to lead, live, and build a life of impact. I'm your host, of course, Dr. Alisa Whyte, the #1 mindset disruptor. And today's conversation, let me tell you guys, this is for women just done being emotionally overdrawn. I know I've been there and I have been healing and recovering, and it's so worth it investing in yourself this way. But you're going to need a mindset shift, right? You're going to need to have a toolbox that helps you give up being in emotional overdraft. Today, we're joined by Ms. Elizabeth Webb, a transformation coach with over 20 years of experience helping women and executive leaders, creatives, and couples reset their lives and relationships. She is the author of a book that I started getting into that's called Made for Magic, where she outlines an 8-part path to move from survival mode into soul-satisfying joy. She's worked globally from New York to Spain, Sweden, and the Dominican Republic, and her work focuses on helping people rebuild alignment, reclaim energy, and redesign their relationships from a place of clarity and power. Elizabeth, welcome to Mindset Master Moments. I am excited to have this conversation with you. In your own words, tell us who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alisa. I'm so happy to be here. And who am I? I am a normal, brilliant, flawed human being who has decided to study human behavior and help in the last 20 years. For the last 20 years, I started really young in this career. It's all I've ever been interested in is what makes us flourish, what takes us out of our power, what helps us reinvent and reclaim our power, because we have all walked that walk of losing ourselves, hopefully refining ourselves. And how do we streamline this and actually stay in our power as much as possible and our joy? So I've studied that for so long, helped people with that for so long, and I decided to write the book because I was asked for the book over and over again. So I got over myself and my ADHD and my excuses, and I wrote the damn book. And here we are.
I am super proud of you. I know how much it costs to put aside all the busy things you're doing to create something that is from your heart, soul, and the work that you do. I am hats off. I have done the intro part of the book. I haven't finished it yet. It is a masterpiece. It is exactly what the world needs. It's something I firmly believe in. I love it. So imagine how honored I am to have this conversation. And number two, we actually get here because I know we all run these really hectic schedules that it's just, we love it. Not that we're going crazy or we're falling apart, but we have a lot that we do to impact the world. So let's start here, Elizabeth, because I think this is where people are going to feel seen immediately in your work. What is a relationship contract, and why are so many people living inside agreements they never consciously choose? I love it.
Yes, highlighting this is huge. A
Yeah.
relational contract is basically a pattern that we fall into with someone that is generally unspoken undefined, but it's, oh, you pick me up, I pick the restaurant, we go to the restaurant, you usually pay, or we usually split it. It's these
Mm,
patterns that we fall into with people that it's not usually conscious. It's
Uh-huh.
not usually defined. We don't sit down and like create legal paperwork around our relational dynamics with our friends, with our families. If we're lucky, sometimes we don't even get a contract when it comes to work. Sometimes we
Yeah.
do. But the clarity around what we're actually outputting, what we're receiving, how reciprocal is this? Have I agreed unconsciously to be the strong one? Have
mhm,
I agreed unconsciously to bear the weight?
mhm,
Have I agreed unconsciously to always be the one who repairs?
mm.
Have I agreed unconsciously to keep the peace, keep it silent, keep it moving? These
Oh,
are the things that we get to look at. And I'm getting chills right now because
yes, me too.
yeah, like I'm really this is so close to my heart because I myself with all of these tools,
Yes.
having written the damn book, I because I love people so much,
Mhm.
will start absorbing more than is mine.
Yes.
We all get to look at this, and this is
Mhm.
really for you know who you are. This is really for the givers of the world because the having looking at the relational contracts for the people who are they're not bad, they're usually not evil, but they're the natural takers.
Yes.
Looking at the relational contract is actually not in service to them because they're like, this works for me. But the
Yeah.
people who are givers, who are people pleasers gets a bad rap, right? But
Mhm.
being a people pleaser, all that really means is that you like people, you love people, and you want to be in close relationship with people. So you want to please people. The thing is,
Yes.
not at the expense of your soul, not at the expense of your sanity, your energy. So we really need to reevaluate these contracts and these
Mhm.
patterns that we fall into with people where suddenly we're resentful, we're mad, and we don't even know why. It's like, oh, like I just, or we're retracting from a relationship, or we're feeling overtired, and we don't even know why. This is where we get
Mhm.
to examine our relational contracts and what we've trained people to expect from us.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So what I'm hearing is people are
Mhm.
not stuck in bad relationships. We're stuck in outdated agreements. Oh, that is a mindset issue first. And I have to say, in all
Yeah.
vulnerability, you said, and I'm gonna go, I'm not gonna leave you out there alone, sister.
Oh, go
Same
in. Yeah.
here. And as you were speaking, like you said, I was getting goosebumps. And it started to remind me just of recently encounters I've had in relationships that are close to me and that ugly feeling that I got in an exchange. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I don't like how this feels. This is not, I should not tolerate this. And honestly, I remember in that moment thinking, I need to let them know how they're doing me. And then I questioned, oh, but what would happen to our relationship if I held them accountable for that action? And then they do that thing again, and I'm like, "Okay, this is getting unbelievably after all these years, this is unbelievably uncomfortable." But I realized, "Oh, you've been taking this for all these years,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
now you just broke open oh, that's the relationship contract." So, because I am in it right now,
You're
I'm sitting
complicit.
in the hot
You're
seat,
complicit
right?
in the creation, is what I hear you owning,
I'm
right?
owning it, right? So help me, sister, disrupt
Let's
and
go in.
interrupt my
Yes.
pathology because here's what I'm thinking. I'm like, you sit there and you start to feel sad because you're like, when you rearrange these agreements, there is a possibility that this relationship will never be the same because I say relationships that you there's a 80/20 in this particular one I'm saying, okay? I'm being real with mine. Let's not talk for everybody. There's an 80/20. 80% of it awesome. 20 this is the
80%
20.
is great. Okay, 20% is toxic, something toxic.
For me, I'm
Yeah.
experiencing toxicity. That individual may not. They're being them. But I have contracted to let them perform and behave and contribute to our relationship that way, is what I just learned. How do I break out that cycle safely?
Well, I can't promise safety.
Huh? That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. So I can't promise safety, but I can promise empowerment,
Mm.
right? And something that I always, as an empath and as a sensitive soul, which I am,
Mhm.
sounds like, yes, you are too. Okay. So, empath and sensitive souls, we have to remind ourselves that we are safe even when we are not liked.
Yes.
And the reality is, if we are liked at all times, there is probably some sort of selling ourselves out that's happening. Because if we are living an existence that's in truth, that's
Mhm.
true, it's not going to be rosy all the time. And sometimes
Yes.
we're going to have to be the bearer of uncomfortable news. Sometimes we're going to have to be willing to be cringe, to have the awkward silence, or even to have somebody to say, like, how dare you? Or
Mhm.
I can't deal with that. Or I can't believe you're saying this to me right now. Or I need a
Mhm.
break. Or even worse, it could escalate beyond that, right?
Mhm.
So you get to decide. In this instance, I'll speak straight to you.
Yes. Yes.
You get to decide that truth and expressing your truth is more important than being comfortable.
Mhm.
And that having a less than optimal reaction
Mhm.
is something that's worth it for the sake of transparency and truth.
And honoring my own soul. And
Mhm.
here's what I'm gonna ask
Right.
you for someone who's listening, because let's be real. Obviously, I always talk, and from the concept of this podcast, I did an episode, I think it was episode 3, and we're at episode 70. I mean, by the time yours come out, it's probably gonna be 80 something.
Wow.
I talked about the art of saying no.
Yes.
Obviously, I have, in order to heal, grow, and become the woman that I am up until this point of our conversation, I've had to release a lot of, now I'm learning the correct word, relationship contracts, soul contracts, whatever you
Mhm.
call,
Mhm.
and deal with the, oh, why is she becoming so selfish? Oh, why don't you hang around as much anymore? Oh, why don't you do that? Why am I da, da, da? Because I started learning to say yes to myself. It was a
Mhm.
no for a lot of people, a lot of
Mhm.
boundaries, redefining a lot of relationships, a lot of how I show up in the world, and I continue to do so. You're gonna have to do that till the day, I think, till the day we clock out, right?
That's
But
right.
why is it that we find it harder in some relationships? Because you said a word for me,
Mhm.
choosing to be in right standing with myself and my soul and what I need and what I desire to flourish and live in joy and not be comfortable. The truth is we're not comfortable when we're dishonoring ourselves. So
You're already
it's
uncomfortable. You are currently uncomfortable and somewhat suppressed in your communication, right?
yes,
So,
yes. And so
so
that
this
is the what, to me,
discomfort
that's
already.
more toxic for myself than
Mhm.
speaking my truth, I've found, obviously.
Right.
So why do we find it that we are in some relationships while we're growing and healing and letting go and becoming, the best version of ourselves? Why is it so challenging for some degree of relationships versus some?
I think it's so different with each relationship. Like, we could put this
Mhm.
into categories, right?
Right.
So there's a biological sister,
Right.
there's a biological mother,
Yes.
there's somebody that we're doing business with. So maybe money is at stake. Maybe staying in right relationship with a certain business contact opens up doors. Maybe you want to keep that going. Maybe it's a friend from middle school or a friend from childhood where they know everything about you. And to lose the depth of that connection in any of these cases, it has a price.
Mhm.
So what we get to do is take the torch that says, I'm willing to risk potentially alienating you,
Mm,
person, mother,
mm, mm.
business partner. I'm willing to take the torch and potentially alienate you because I want more intimacy with you, more than I'm afraid. Because on the other side, Dr. Elisa, on the other side of these painful, uncomfortable conversations where we renegotiate what we're available for, there's
Mhm.
potential for separation. There's also
Yes.
potential, massive potential for more depth and intimacy and truth and love.
Come
There's
on.
exponentially more available on the other side of truth with somebody, with the people who can go there with us. And we don't get to find that out unless we go first.
We're going home. We're done. She's done her work today. Because listen, that alone can change for me, that truth
Yeah,
holds true already. There's so many patterns of me having and I've said to myself, I'm willing to risk it all. Now, granted, the first time I learned to do that, I ended up separated and divorced.
right. So you've got trauma around this. Truth equals divorce, right? Living
Yes, right.
peacefully
But
equals
it's the most,
separation, paperwork, financial stuff, all of it, pain,
come
all of
on,
it.
talk to me. So with that, I learned what I said. Once I was able to work on the renegotiation of that contract in that relationship, and then even after that, renegotiate and take my standing in even communication and what that looks like, what you're going to get off and what you're not going to get off with. And now we have no contact for several years. And it's the best thing ever because I realized, redefine it. No, you're just a great person from my past. Once every year, Merry Christmas is fine. That's not an issue. That didn't work. The toxicity was just redefined and subtly sneaking in. And I was like,
Mhm.
and so I learned so much. But for me, like you said, and I want you to go there for someone, right? Because now, like you said, this equals that. Me having these uncomfortable conversation could be, if I let it, it's not necessarily for me, but I still carry some of that I didn't realize until you said it. So what would you say to that person who did renegotiate those contracts and they end up maybe like me, where they lost their job, they lost access to contracts, they lost a relationship with a partner, a romantic partner, or even a parent? What do you say to them moving forward as they work on healing this equals that, where now they're in some relationships, they're just afraid to speak up and renegotiate?
So it sounds like you're speaking to the trauma that's occurred. So maybe if somebody has experienced a loss in the past, a major loss that was
Because they needed to speak
that,
for them.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I was self-expressed, I lost this. So I'm not here to tell anyone how to live. What
Mhm.
I'm here to tell you is that you're always at choice. So you get to choose at any moment. Is it more important for me to keep the relationship as is and keep the peace while I have this feeling in my body that I am
Mm,
betraying myself? Which is more important?
come on.
You get to choose. So I'm not here going, be self expressed all the time, lose the relationships. Who cares? No, I'm saying
So glad you don't
choose.
say it that way. Yeah.
No, don't. It's like sometimes we swallow it, because life is messy and it's not all like black and white. Sometimes
Come
we
on.
keep moving with the business contract and when it's like it's a kind of toxic, but it's a lot of money. It's like sometimes life is not crystal clean all the time. It's
Come
not.
on.
But
Yes.
we get to choose, is this feeling in this sensation in my body that's telling me, no, 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 this isn't right. You're doing it again. You're self sabotaging. You're betraying yourself. Is that so loud that you're willing to risk again and possibly have a different result? Okay. Every
Mhm.
time we bare our souls and responsibly tell our truth and request that our relational contract or the dynamic rearranges so it's more reciprocal, it's more in the light, it's more in truth. Anytime we do that, there's the potential for separation and there's the potential for more love, more intimacy, and you get to risk it
You
if
get
it's
to
worth
risk
it.
it.
You get to risk it if it's worth it. And you also get to
Hmm.
make that educated guess, you know? Once in a while, people will surprise us, and the person you think will be like storm out will be like, "Oh my God, I had no idea.
It's
I'm
happened.
so
Yeah.
sorry." Sometimes people will surprise you, but sometimes they'll do exactly what you
And
thought.
sometimes they'll surprise you with going that way when you thought it would be like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. You realize,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
this person does not value our relationship as much as I thought they did. And
It's
that's
really,
healing you might have to do. Yeah, it's
yeah.
hard.
I'm gonna say it's really hard, and some of my greatest heartbreaks, so I'm a heterosexual woman, but some of my greatest heartbreaks have been with women who don't know how to do conflict resolution. So deep friendships, 10-year, 15-year friendships, and we have a fight and, like, we're done? We can't be in the same room anymore?
And the truth is, can I ask you this though, Elizabeth? Did you find in those relationships you were always biting, I call it biting the bullet,
Yeah.
a lot, and it just got to where it was enough for you and you're like, you didn't lash out necessarily, but you spoke up or you started to give signals like, "Oh, I can't show up like this for you anymore." And that's when you realize that when you said something, we're done. Or maybe you always let them, they slip up, they mess up, they don't show up, they don't know, and you let it go. But the one time you didn't show up, the one time you couldn't show up, the one time you didn't, you missed it, whatever the mark of whatever they were expecting. It's,
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, and something that I've had to call myself on over and
mm,
over and over again because of what I do for a living and like my natural wiring, I guess, is to stop creating relational dynamics, relational contracts where I'm the strong one and they come to me to lean on me because I'm the strong one. And then one time when I act outside of that and I'm not the strong one and I act like a wounded little girl or like I have an imperfect moment, they're like, they
yes,
feel betrayed because I never
yes,
introduced into the dynamic like,
I'm
I'm human
human.
too.
And I say,
Lean
I'm
on
just a
you,
girl sometimes.
I lean on you, you lean on me. I lean on you, you lean on me. I'm strong, now I'm weak. Now you're strong, now you're weak. Like that is how real relationships are. Both people get to be true and messy, not you come and drink from the fountain
Come
and
on.
go leave.
Yes,
So if you
yes,
train people to come and drink from the fountain and then leave because you're the fountain, and then the fountain's dry one day, they're like, screw you, fountain. You're
going
like,
to another fountain.
yeah, well, what about the 10 years?
Ye-
Okay, but let's look at this for a second. I own, because we're talking about my past, and thank God
yes,
I'm painstakingly choosing to not recreate this.
yes.
I was complicit in creating those dynamics. Those dynamics made me feel special, important, and like I was sharing my light, right? But what I wasn't doing was actively creating reciprocity.
Mhm. Mm,
So go through
mm.
a major loss, I suddenly lost my father. I was suddenly very messy. I
Yeah.
lost like most of my friends.
Wow. Because I said this quote, and this relationship is this conversation is most, I feel like
Mhm.
human behavior and relationships of any type are that's my, I don't want to say obsession, but that's what I'm so passionate about. I was talking to my partner the other day, and he's like, "You don't talk about it a lot, but you talk about it a lot, relationships." And I was like, "Yeah, I feel like down the road, it's a big part of my work because when people can heal the relationship with themselves, that's why I talk about mindset because it's that relationship with yourself and how your relationship with yourself based on your thinking, right? That's where I thought I can put my piece. But here's the thing, Elizabeth, high achievers especially, we normalize overfunctioning and we call it being strong.
I know. God,
So
I know. Yeah.
what are the three signs that someone is operating under an expired contract?
Oh,
So we
gosh.
can kind of recognize it.
So let's for a moment go into an expired contract with a friend. Let's just
Mhm.
because it helps to have a category, right? So a platonic
Right.
friend.
Yeah.
You may notice a clenching in your jaw, a bracing in your body
Mm.
when someone brings them up or when you spend time around them. That is just a physical sensation that something is out of alignment, and it probably has been for a while.
Is
I would
that like
also
resentment?
So that's unconscious resentment, but then there's also the conscious resentment. The conscious
Oh.
resentment is like, here we go again. Really? They went to the bathroom when the check came because they know I'm going to like get it. Here we go again. That kind of self talk of like,
Mhm.
oh, really? I'm the one who has to come to you again. You're the one who's coming to me to talk about, I haven't seen you, haven't heard anything from you until you needed something. Here we go again.
Mm.
So that I'm seeing looks of familiarity on your face. You're like,
Oop,
yeah,
guilty.
yeah, I understand. I understand. So it's that cycling of thoughts of like, really again with this and the bracing and the tension in the body. That is
Yeah.
repressed anger that is showing you a spotlight on the fact that you are in a pattern with this person that isn't working for you. It's not always overgiving, but it's something like that. Something is out of balance that needs to be rebalanced. Hoping, like considering that you want to keep this person. I wrote a whole chapter in my book about untethering and how to know whether you want to keep a relationship or not. Because I'm going to say I err on the side of keep relationships, especially with like old school friends, especially with family, unless it's really, really nasty and toxic for like a very long time and you're not able to rehabilitate it. But I have a whole chapter on this because it's so painful to decide, you know what, this is beyond what I can work with.
Mhm.
So there is that choice, but let's assume it's not that. Let's assume this person is 80% amazing and 20% is like, ugh, that's
Mhm.
usually workable. That's usually,
Yes.
and it's possible that they have no idea. It's possible that they do have an idea and they're taking advantage, or they're just keeping it moving as long as you put up with something. But it's also possible they have no idea.
Yes.
Conversations when we choose to and when the person can go there with us, we have the possibility of this more soul satisfying, deeper connection where our body and our mind isn't so defensive. We're not defending, we're not protecting. It's actually freedom within relationship when we can talk.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, I love it.
Mhm.
You give us so much. That right there is so much to watch. Like, again, I'm thinking of relationships where those were the feelings. And because I've grown up a lot and I've been healing a lot and come a long way, like you said, not where I used to be. That's where I was. And what I've learned to do, I call it, and I've been doing it for years, I call it redefining the relationships. A lot of times people want to have that conversation. And what I find, a conversation is not always necessary when you have the conversation with yourself, because only you can determine. I realized that I didn't want to give the keys of my joy, my peace, and my happiness to anyone again. And when I realize that's happening, the first thing I do is like, since you have your hands out with the key where they come and get it, use it, put it back. Now that they put it back and there's that window, grab those keys and put it away. Because maybe for a period in my life, them having those keys was good for both of us, but
Mhm.
it's not good for this season. So a lot of times I find myself not having to do a confrontational conversation, because once I start having it myself and I hold myself accountable, I realize that was you. So I redefine the terms and conditions. Sometimes it's not necessary without notice. And then I watch people just kind of fall into place. They
Mm.
realize you're not going to do this anymore. And you're saying, no, I'm not available. I won't be able to. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I will not. And I don't say I can't because I could. I'm just choosing not to. So I use my words. My can'ts, nothing doesn't, I don't really use can't as much anymore because everything is a choice. How do I want to spend my time? It's like, oh, I can't make it to the ball. No, I'm choosing not to make time to go to the ball because I prioritized what I had on my schedule already. Because let's say if someone says I've got tickets right now to go see Michael Jackson, God rest his soul. I always thought about wanting to see Michael, but the crowds always freak me out. So if there's a VIP ticket where I'm going to go backstage and meet Michael,
You're
Elizabeth, I'm
good.
sorry, I'm not showing up for the podcast. My team is going to be like,
Please don't.
Elisa,
Yeah. Please
right?
don't.
I'm gonna go see Michael, right? Just using that. So it's always a choice. Like you give this all, what do you want? So I
Yeah.
make those choices and then I see how it go. And sometimes based on the choices I make, I can see someone is discomfortable really they're saddened and then that's when that conversation needs to happen. It's not every time I felt like it needed to have a conversation to renegotiate those terms. Because if it's going to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, I love this distinction. I think this is a really, really beautiful distinction because you're putting things in categories that not everything is a like, we need to talk. First of all, please don't ever say that because the other person,
That's a trigger for almost every human.
we need to talk. It's like the other person's nervous system is going to go, I'm in trouble, right? So that's called a harsh startup. We don't want to do that. So,
Mhm. What's
not,
what's a word we can how can we reframe that?
I'd love to check in. Yeah, I'd love to check in. Is this a good time? Check in about what? Oh, and like it's more of a massaging, but that also requires us having some emotional mastery. And this is not always things that beginners in this area can just do. It might be clunky at first when you first start this. But I want to speak to your point that not everything is a big talk. It's not. While you were talking, I was recalling this example where I used to have a friend, and this is going to sound a bit odd, but we were in the same dance scene together, right? So I did
Mhm.
partner dancing with a lot of different people. He was in this dance scene with us, and he was a military guy. And he was always like leaving the country and like going off to like leaving the country. And I noticed like it was his goodbye party like many times. So I was always like getting him a drink at the bar. Oh, you're leaving. Okay, let me get you a drink. Oh, you're back. Let me get you a drink. Oh, no, it's on me. You're back. Oh, you're and so a year of knowing this guy, I realized like this man, let's call him Bobby. Bobby has never taken his credit card out ever
Not when
in
he's
my
around you.
presence. Not one time. Ew. So the next time I saw him, we were at the bar and I just didn't do anything. And there was a pause, because I didn't do the thing that I usually do. You're back. I was like, bartender comes over and he was kind of like, and I was like, he was like, you know what? I don't think I've ever bought you a drink. And I was like, you have a point. I'll have a white wine,
Exactly.
and we didn't ever, I didn't stop being friends with him. I didn't sit down and say, this is not reciprocal. Also, this is a very limited exchange. What he does doesn't really affect the rest of my life, but it's like these micro moments reflect larger moments, larger patterns, right? So it's not about Bobby at the bar with the dancing. It's about Elizabeth makes everything better. Oh, you don't even have time to get out your credit card because I already got it. Because I thought of you
Yes.
first and I was faster. I thought of you first and I was faster. So I'm absorbing, I'm absorbing, I'm absorbing, and then suddenly I'm mad at you? No, that's me.
Mm,
That's a
yes.
me thing. So it's about the
Mhm.
pause and then let it be weird. Let it be uncomfortable. That right there will correct a lot of things to your point.
Mhm.
It's not, okay, you saw it first. Does that mean you have to do it? No. You choose to do it. It annoyed you first, or you did whatever you did, whether you saw the mess or you saw the disaster that was about to happen, or, like you saw the check first, you saw the dishes first. If you just slow down a little bit and leave space for other people to slowly be like, oh, there's a mess in there. You know what? I got it. But that requires some of the type A ness to
Mm-hmm.
less important.
Mm. Mm. So good. So
Mhm.
good. Because a lot of times we're just moving and moving. And this is what I say, and I've gotten into conflict of some sort with the people in my life only because they would come to me and say, "Oh, you won't believe what they did to me this first day on the job, this first day in this on this contract, while I'm negotiating this contract, or this contract is pending. You won't believe they're not communicating. You won't believe they didn't pay their deposit on time. You won't." And I'm listening, and as a good listener, but I'm looking at a pattern. You always think people are going to do right by you based on what you would do by them. And this is just all made up in your head. And I'm like, no, on the prefaces, what I hear when I listen to your journey from the beginning, you allowed them to think everything was cool and jazzy. But now, when they called you and you dropped what you were doing to get on that call with them, that was you signaling, oh, I'm always available whenever you need me. And you didn't let them book something on your calendar. That's a poor business practice for someone to DM you and then boom, they're all of a sudden on a call right now, right here. They don't value your time because guess who don't value your time? You. So I'm going to hold you accountable as someone who cares about you and say, you have to teach people how to be in relationship with you based on the results you want to have in those relationships. And I'm like, I'm not saying anything to you. I'm not constantly reminding myself. And so when stuff goes awry in any of my relationships, business, personal, or familiar, familiar relationships with my
Mhm.
family, I want you to understand it is up to me because I said yes to things that wouldn't last in long run. So when I'm coming into relationship with my podcast guest, Elizabeth, you can see, oh, well, you probably not in it. Even you as a person who are on podcast, you have people handle it and they have a process that they follow with you. Same with me, who are having guests come on the show. There's a process. No one gets in my DM and say, "Hey, can I come on your podcast?" They can do that, and I'll be like, "Oh, sure, I'm going to pass your
Fill out
information
the
to my
application.
team so they can go through the process." Because then there's standards. So
Mhm.
you're not gonna when you book a time with me, look, I'm gonna cancel. At least I gotta cancel 3 hours before, or Dr. White's gonna just cancel that. If I don't confirm before 3 days before, she's not showing up. Because guess what? I rearrange my days and my life and my time to have this conversation with you, and so do you. So I'm
Okay.
teaching you how to relate with me. And from then on, we have some of the most beautiful relationships. My podcast guest, our extended family members. We're kindred spirits, but that's how I have to duplicate for all the relationships with my mom, with my siblings, with my niece and nephew. It's not that, oh, they got to book a call or whatever, but it's like they need me now. And I'm like, okay, I have a full schedule. Can I do this with you or for you tomorrow? What about next week? I start negotiating because I'm not available right now. Because if I stop what I have to do, because I have a 2 hour window in my day between appointments, rush over there to you, I'm self neglecting because that's my downtime. That's when I need to breathe. That's when I need to recoup for that next appointment. Now, sometimes it does require me stopping and going to pick up a niece or nephew because something happened in their parents' day. That's an emergency basis. And my family knows they won't even call me to just goof off or just throw a responsibility. My family doesn't relate that because we respect each other, but we create those relationships like that, right? So I want you to tell us. We're going to talk about clarity in work, needs versus preferences, right? So before those conversations even comes, the one we were talking about that might have to happen to renegotiate the contract, we've got to get clear, right? So I would
Mhm.
love for you to help us break down needs, desires, and preferences because people are negotiating from confusion. So that clarity that you talk about, talk to us.
Sure. So, when I talked about needs, desires, and preferences, this actually relates to everything in life. However, I was talking about romantic relationships specifically
Love
and
to hear
getting
it.
really clear on what your needs are. A
Mhm.
need is so basic and necessary for you to feel like you're in something healthy and honorable.
Mm.
And these are different for everyone. Like some people have the need that someone is on time. And if you're not on time, it really feels like a deep dishonoring to them. Some people, if you're always 30 minutes late, they're like, well, I'd prefer that they're on time, but like I do me and I like, read my book and I don't really care. I'm in a good mood anyway, so that's more of a preference.
Reference.
It's not something that you need to honor yourself to continue in a relationship. A preference is a nice to have. A need is like, without this, I cannot really continue on a long term
Mm.
basis. Preference is a nice to have. A desire is, it's kind of like when you hear the word desire and you feel that in your body, the essence of it is like it brings you life in
Mm.
the yearning of it. So you could desire a romantic trip to Paris. That's something, an experience that you've always wanted to have. Or it might be just a picnic on the ocean. It might be a sexual experience that you've always wanted to have. It could be any of these things that you can really feel palpably in your body and it feels like a enlivening, healthy yearning. That's a desire. Needs and preferences, needs is like, I must have this in order to feel honored, respected long term. Preference, nice to have. It's okay. He gets a weird haircut. I'd prefer it didn't look like that, but it's not a deal breaker.
Mhm.
And that's how we look at that. So what
Wow.
happens in our healing journey in romance is as we find our voice and we feel valuable enough to own our needs, preferences, and desires, we can sometimes put them all in the same category and think they're all needs. Like, I
Yes.
need him to be on time and I need him to
Need
have good.
him to take me out to dinner once a week. I need him to take out the trash.
So when we put everything that we want or prefer or desire in the category of a need and put it on a really, really, really long list, what we're
Yeah.
doing is self-sabotage in love, right? So that's where this comes into play.
Yeah.
And these different levels of things are very important for our processing of life because not everything is like a 10 on the urgency scale. But sometimes when we've been tolerating things for a long time, we think it is. We think everything's a 10, We're like, that haircut, it's a 10, disrespectful. No, it's not disrespectful. It's a preference. We're okay.
Minus 10, minus 10, minus 10. Put the
Right.
towel on the bed. Minus 10.
Minus 10. Exactly.
Oh my goodness, that is so good. So basically, you're saying if you're unclear on those for yourself, whether
Get
it's
clear.
through frustration, resentment, or else, you're negotiating your life from instability. That's what
Yes.
that's.
Yes, it's so important to get clear on what our needs are and make sure that we're not in something where we can't actually get our needs met. In order to make sure you're not in something where you can't get your needs met, you must know what your needs are. Your needs, not your
Yeah,
preferences, not your desires, your
yeah,
needs.
your needs,
Because you
because
can
that's when you
usually get
start
your
to hurt a
preferences
little bit.
and your desires if you get the, like, you know, the things that make you feel honored, respected, safe. If you can get those met, then, you can usually get the other things, but it doesn't go the other
Yeah,
way around.
it does not.
No. If somebody
That is so good.
desires, but not your needs for respect, honor, safety, it don't work.
So I had someone talking to me for a little bit of advice, I guess. She was confiding and she
Mhm.
said, I have a need for she described herself the one of the way I describe myself as a sapiosexual. Is that what?
Sapiosexual, yeah.
Right. Someone who needs intellectual stimulation in order to
On
create,
by the way somebody's mind works. Yes.
right? So she said that, and she said this person that she's been in a long-term relationship and it's going really well, but except she has the need for that. But years ago, because everything else in this relationship works, she let it go, but observed her partner having deep level conversations in many different scenarios that she would desire to have with them. So she
Mhm.
goes, and I want you to give your feedback on this. She goes, so one time we got in the car after an event watching him navigate so well on a deep level. And I was like, damn. She couldn't help it. She said, I noticed you cutting up with so and so at the party. I would, every now and then I would love to have conversations like these with you. But he was like, you don't have conversations with your woman like that because that's the conversations you have with your woman when you're trying to get her attention. But after that, like, that's cheesy to have that kind of. She's like, you were talking to a dude that wasn't romantic at all. He was just at a certain depth that I like and I would love to. And I guess she realized that that was edging a little conflict. She let it go. She said, I determined that I would live without that when it comes to our relationship. What are your comments to that? And in
Mm,
your 20 years of work,
yeah.
Elizabeth, how does that turn out for most people?
You know what? I love this question. And I'm going to tell you why I love it because it is a recipe for a beautiful outcome. This is a recipe for a beautiful outcome. And I might surprise you with this, okay?
You might, because in my mind, I'm like, I
It's not,
felt like,
no, it's
yeah,
not.
I said it's not. I'm like, it can be a
No, it's not
conversation that
over.
can, yeah, he's got the
This is,
skills.
this is amazing.
Okay.
Thought you were just gonna tell me, like, he's not that deep, he always keeps it surface, he's not that smart, he's kind of like, basic bro, and she's like, "Ugh," but it's not that.
It's
It's
not.
that he's gotten I'm hearing a couple things that are tweakable. He has the ability to go deep in an intellectual, but he either never did or doesn't know how to interact with her like that. So she gets to reframe this to him that this actually turns her on and that he gets to have a very desirable outcome if he meets this need of hers. And they get to play with this.
And I could see that you're on spot. You know why? Because my understanding of that particular relationship from the core is all he wants is for her to be happy and feel
Right.
loved and supported. So
Right.
the fact that he already has that in all these other ways, if he understood, she gives him the chance and she had the right, I would say the powerful words that you just used to
Mhm.
articulate herself to him. I can see that being because you want to know what my response for? I said, I understand that you've sort of tucked that desire away or that need away. And I didn't understand now. You just taught me the complete difference in a relationship. But it sounded like a deep desire to me. So I said, sounds like you tucked it away. I won't give up on it. I would find a way to communicate it differently another time and letting him know how it is important to you. That's all I had based on where
Mhm.
I'm at. I said, you don't have to give up. And I said, it sounds like he's the type of guy who would want to rise to the occasion based on what you're telling me. So I won't give up. I would just reconsider my approach and come for it again because
Mhm.
I think you guys have an amazing thing. She didn't feel like quitting or she just felt like in order to continue, she had to let that go.
Yeah, no,
No.
it sounds like deep frustration on her part, and it also
That's it.
sounds like a suppression of a desire that's totally possible for her to have. Like,
Yeah,
why wouldn't you have it? All you
exactly.
need is a toolbox to properly communicate to your man. There was one thing about that story that I didn't love where you said like once you're comfortable with your woman, like you kind of don't need to talk to her like
Yeah,
that. Something
that's the part that I love. So obviously he gave her that in the beginning.
sure. So to me, it sounds like he's too comfortable, and it could be in her advantage to have him feel a little less comfortable. And there are ways to do this. We can't solve it all right now, but
No, that's
in
another episode, or that's in the book
yes,
and that's in the
totally.
coaching. Yeah.
I also want to share that in Made for Magic, I devoted a whole chapter to empowered romance. It started off as like empowered relationships, but I realized empowered romance needs its own whole chapter. And there is a whole design about how to have a conversation with a man, or, it's really designed for women, this book. However, some men have read it and
Yes.
have liked it. But what exactly do you say? And also, there might be a little bit of like pulling back of her attention and energy. Like, okay, I'm not gonna be this much of a tease. Yeah,
Without being manipulative. Talk to us about it.
it might be a little manipulative, but it's also effective. So,
Moving the needle in our favor, and that's what we do with negotiate. Yeah,
so I think manipulation gets a bad rap because it just
it does.
assumes
But we manipulate all day, every day. That's what we do as humans from the day we were born. So
dark intentions. But I'm gonna
yes,
say if you have intentions of the light to have a little strategy, no big deal. So
that's the
I
word,
would if
strategy.
this was my client in a nutshell and we don't have enough time to like unpack all the steps,
Gosh, we need a
I
whole day.
have I would have her pull back her energy a little bit enough that he asked her, "Hey baby, are we okay?"
Mm,
And then I would have her be coy and be like, "We are okay, but there's something that I'm really desiring that I haven't felt fully comfortable talking to you about yet." And then make him like sweat and work to hear what it is. And
mm.
then say, "It really turns me on when we go deep and intellectual, and I would love to have like a date with you where we go like see a play or we go to a museum and then you tell me how it spoke to you, and that just like and then say what it provides for you,
How it makes you feel,
and then drop it, don't bring it up again, and let
and let
him."
him go to work.
Yeah, like that.
I love it, and it works,
You tell
ladies.
me if that's manipulative. I think that would be effective.
I think that's a strategy to communicate what you truly, truly desire and actually need at the same time, because it's going to bring two desires to me, and it's also brings to your need, because it's her desire to connect and feel that passion,
Yeah.
right? But it's also a need for her. I think the need is the connection. And then the desire is the passion, because for a sapiosexual, that is an actual turn on for us. When we can connect at that deeper level, doesn't make us better than anybody, but that's how stuff works for us. And
Mhm.
so for me, it's a non negotiable. I guess I get to say that now because I'm older
Mhm.
and I've already lived another life. I've been married for a long time before, and I knew what my needs. I figured out a lot of my needs. I am still working on it. And that's why sometimes I really recommend women who are ready to date, especially if they've already been married or been through long-term relationships or several relationships and they're at a certain age, really think you shouldn't go it alone without someone like you on our side, only because we are we don't know what we don't know, and a coach or a mentor or a therapist with
Yes.
your type of specialty will bring that absolutely. So let's talk a little bit of execution. Oh my gosh, time goes by so fast, and I know we're coming up to the end, right? I can't stand it. So let's talk about the conversation framework. You have created something called the Empower Conversation Cheat Sheet.
Yes.
Walk us through how someone actually communicates their needs without over explaining, apologizing, and shrinking. And I feel like you already kind of did that for us, but I wanted to bring some
Good.
spotlight to this empowered conversation cheat sheet and what that looks like systematically.
So, the empowered conversation cheat sheet, again, that's in the empowered romance chapter of the book.
Okay.
The whole point of it is to really break down what the need is in a way that the other person can hear it. It's a non-violent, non-harsh startup to the conversation. And then it breaks things down small enough that they can hear it, and it gives them the highest possible chance of actually fulfilling that need for you. So
Right.
it's a pretty intense set of steps. And usually when someone hears it, they're like, oh my God, that's so many steps. Can't I just be like, oh my God, I want to go on vacation? And I'm like, well, you can say it like that. But if you follow this cheat sheet, the chances of you getting what you want are so much higher. So,
Mm.
of this moment, because it's kind of an intense thing, I'll say the full explanation is in the Empowered Romance chapter. However, the most important parts of it are number one, make sure it's a good time.
Mm.
In the heat of the moment in an argument, burst out with what you have always needed and expect that to land, be heard, and then turn into action, because it won't.
Mhm.
So, number one, make sure it's the right time. Make sure that you're grounded, you're neutral about it, and that you can come from a place of like, there's something that I need that you don't know about. Would it be okay
Mm.
with you?
Wow.
And then they're like, yes, of course. And then you're like, this is what I need, right? I need a date night once a month or once a week or however it is. It would look like us going somewhere local. It wouldn't look like some big elaborate thing. I just really want a time where we go have a meal, we both put our phones away, and it's just the two of us. Does that work for you? And then he gets to say yes. And then
Mhm.
or he could say no, right? And then it's setting it up for success because it goes one step beyond that. And you would say, is there anything that you need from me in order to make that happen?
Mhm.
This is based, so I want to make sure and put this in here. This is based on the work of Alison Armstrong, who does really, really powerful relationship work for people.
Yeah.
And so I've changed the conversation slightly, modernized it slightly, but this is really like her. I love
Her.
Alison, right?
Yes.
So you want to make sure it's the right time. You want to make sure you're in the right headspace. It's not a heated moment. You want to make sure you're in ownership of what it is exactly that you want, that you're ready to define it. You're ready to say what it will provide for you. You're ready to say what it is. You're ready to say what it isn't. You're ready to hear a yes or no. And I'm sure it will be a yes. It usually is. Say, is there anything that you need from me in order to make this happen? And he might,
Mm.
yeah, I need a calendar invite. Or you know what? I'm not that good at like picking new places. You're kind of opinionated. I always feel like I'm going to mess up the place. Can you pick the places? And you can be like, yeah, that part's not important to
Yes.
me. I just want your
Right.
time, energy, and attention. So that's what that looks like.
Was so beautiful. Listen, I'm gonna tell you guys, we do not have time. You guys are
No,
gonna have to come back to part 2
let's
of
do
this
it.
conversation with Elizabeth because she is absolute fire. Listen,
Mhm.
Elizabeth, we're gonna do something here. I want you to tell us exactly who you work with and then tell us how to get a copy of Mind Magic because part 2 is we have to do it. There's no doubt.
Okay, yes, we're doing part two because I can't stay away. It's just so good.
Exactly.
So, Made for Magic, this is my book. It's available right now on Amazon. So you can pop over there and go get it. Um,
Do you have an Audible yet or you
yes, I
good,
do. And
good.
it took me
Did you
10,
do it yourself?
yes, yes.
Even better. That's not gonna be boring at all.
So the Audible is out. I will read you a beautiful bedtime story that's going to wake you up and give you all the tools. You can get that on Audible,
I
or you
am
can.
getting mine right now.
So if you want to check it out and get the first chapter for free and
Uh-huh.
go that route, you totally can. You can go to madeformagicbook.com and put in your email, and then we'll send you the first chapter. And you know what? Honestly, even if you just get the first chapter, which is all about how to reignite hope, and you really read
Yes.
it and do the power practices in the first chapter, you will get
Yes.
so much juice from that. But of course, I recommend the whole book because it's potent and everything is in there for a reason. I am such a book snob, and I wrote a book that I would actually read and finish because it's that helpful, that entertaining, that juicy, that full of stories,
Yes.
and you will not be disappointed.
Yes, and it's 5 hours and 39 minutes long. And for those who are listening, because this episode is not going to be, it's not going to be a long time, you should double check, even if you don't have a subscription with Amazon Audible, it's on sale right now.
Get it.
I just got the subscription, so I missed it, but it's on sale. It's usually like a little bit under 20, but you can get it for like 11 something right now. It's on sale. So grab a copy and come back to part 2
Yes,
of this episode, because we're going to go a little bit deeper on boundaries and the other. Yeah, we couldn't do it. We just couldn't do it in an hour. 'Cause listen, disruptors, grab a sister especially and hop over, re-listen to this episode, then jump into part 2. And Elizabeth has some freebies. She's already given us one of those, but we want to hear what your thoughts are, what you're thinking, and what you're feeling. Part 2 is right after this one. So go listen, get a copy of the book, and let us know what you think. We'd love to know if you want more from Elizabeth, and we would love to have her back. Until next time, keep mastering your mindset. Think, speak, do, become. We'll see you on the next one.